Hello, everyone, and welcome, like Matthew said, to our session here on Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word to me is one of these applications that everybody uses in one way or another to create documents, to create policies, to create a lot of different things, but we don't usually go beyond the Home tab of the ribbon. So I just wanted to spend some time today kind of letting you know some other features that we have available within Microsoft Word, starting with a feature that I use on a daily basis. That's called the navigation pane. Sometimes you might open up Microsoft Word and it is open by default. But if it's not open, like mine is not open right at this moment, you can open the navigation pane by going to the View tab of the ribbon. From the View tab, we have this Show group. If you click the checkbox in front of Navigation pane, it opens up this pane on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, that particular pane can be opened another way. If you are on the Home tab of the ribbon and you go to the Editing group and you use the Find and Replace, it's also going to open up the navigation pane because Find and Replace is part of the navigation pane. Now, there's a lot of things that can happen in this navigation pane, and as I demonstrate a couple of other great features in Microsoft Word, you're going to see the navigation pane change. There's a reason it's called navigation pane. We can use it to navigate the document. And one of the ways we can do that is by formatting the text within your document by using styles. So you know how you have your Home tab with the font group, the paragraph group, the styles group? That's a lot of different choices on different ways to format your information. But in that styles group is a gallery of choices. So by default, when you start typing in a document, it uses a style called normal. Normal is going to be your default font, your default settings for that font, which include the paragraph spacing, the line spacing. It includes other aspects. Those are by default. And every time that you create a brand new document, by default, it uses a theme called the Microsoft theme. We'll get to that again here in a minute, but let's talk about these styles. So if you have a document, like this happens to be a 4-page document, and I want to create different sections to this document. I want to have headings and subheadings for the information, and I need them to be consistent. I want all the main headings to have the same formatting, the subheadings to have the same formatting, and an easy way to do that in Microsoft Word is to use the built-in styles. So from the styles gallery of choices, all you have to do is be within the paragraph of the text that you want to add a style to. You don't have to manually format the text. The styles will do all of that for you. So as an example, on my screen, if you see where it has this Heart Recycling Centers Open New Stores, I want that to be a main heading. I'm going to go to my styles. There's this drop down of all of the styles available within my document. I can click heading 1. It automatically has formatted that paragraph to match the style set up for heading 1. So what it did was it changed it to be Calibri light heading, size 16, and then the font color is actually this blue color. So it did all of that automatically. And it has different paragraph spacing. It has spacing above the paragraph and a little bit of spacing below the paragraph. Now, how did all that get added? Well, that comes by default. Depending on the theme you are using and the document formatting that you're using, the styles can change. You can even create your own styles. But let me continue to add a few styles and watch my navigation pane as I'm doing that. So I'm going to scroll down and I have this next heading called Hiring for New Stores. I want that paragraph to be a heading 2. I'm going to go back to my styles. I'm going to click on the choice called heading 2. It automatically changed the font to be that Calibri Light heading size 13 with a blue color font. Okay, I'm going to scroll down again, and I'm going to go to Rental Department Opens on page 2. I want that to be a heading 1. Back to the styles again. I'm going to click on that drop down for my styles. I'm going to click heading 1. It automatically consistently formats this to match the previous heading 1. I'm going to go to this DIY seminars. I'm going to have that be a heading 2. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to go to this paragraph for mascot family growing 2. I actually want that to be a heading 3. So I'm going to apply a heading 3 style from my style gallery of choices. That is providing us with the formatting of the Calibri Light heading, size 12, and it does have a font color applied as well, but it's a different font color than the previous blue. When I go into the drop down for the font color, it's this very last square of the blue color, as opposed to previously it was the next square up. So just so you can see, it's doing this all on its own. So as I type all my information in my document, I come back and apply these styles so that I have this consistency throughout my document. But there's a little bit more to this. So let me continue just adding in a few more styles. I'm just going to kind of scroll through the rest of my document. I'm going to choose the headings that I want, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, etc. And you can see that as I'm doing this, if you're looking at my navigation pane on the left-hand side, it's actually adding those paragraphs into the navigation pane, which brings me back to why it's called the navigation pane. We can use it to actually navigate the document. When you look at the left-hand side, this navigation pane, it has a search document. It has headings, pages, results. Then you're going to see this list of all the places that I did a heading 1, a heading 2, and a heading 3 style. If I want to go to this DIY seminars, I can click on it and it's going to automatically navigate me to that heading, which as I can see is a heading 2. I know that because above it is Rental Department Opens. That's a heading 1 because it's all the way over to the left-hand side. Indented is the DIY Seminars. Indented again is a style level 3, which is the mascot family growing 2. Now, we can use it to navigate throughout the document. Just click on the heading you want to go to. Quick way to get around. But you could also navigate by pages. You don't have to have headings. At the top of the navigation pane where it says Headings, Pages, click the tab for Pages. You will see your 5 pages or whatever you have within your document. If you want to navigate to a specific page, click on the little thumbnail image for that page and it will take you to that page. Great ways to navigate. But what is another way that we can actually navigate? Well, what if you wanted to find information throughout your document? Like, what if I'm looking for the word department? I could click where it says search document. I could start typing department and it's automatically searching the document. If I want to see the results of what I've typed in so far, if you look at the navigation pane underneath the search, I only typed part of the word department. It's showing me I have 5 results. Next to the tab for pages is results. If I click results, it actually shows me the results of whatever it is I was searching for. And it actually gives you the parts of the paragraph. So if I want to jump to Rental Department Opens, I want to go to this paragraph green and Riverside will be adding a pet department. I can use that to navigate. That's why they call it the navigation pane. We can navigate by headings, navigate by pages, or navigate by search results. But if you go back to the navigation pane, and to the right of the search bar, click the X, it will stop the search. If I go back to headings, I can see where I use the styles throughout the document to navigate. That's what I use 99% of my time. I always have my navigation pane open every time I'm in Microsoft Word. But another benefit to having this is, what if you want to rearrange your document? I have that rental department opens, but I really want the pet department in new stores, excuse me, to go above the rental department opens. I don't have to go and find the text, select it, cut it, go to where I want to put it and paste it. I can move it right in the navigation pane. I can put my mouse on the pet department in new stores, click and drag it above rental department opens, and all of the headings underneath it, heading 2s or heading 3s, will move with it. So it takes that whole section and will move it to wherever you drug it to within that navigation pane. So if you are a Microsoft Word user and you have not been using that feature, highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. But let's go back and talk a little bit more about those styles, because when we are looking at those different formats, this particular document is actually using an older theme because it was written with an older theme when it was first created. Let me show you what I mean by that. If you go to the ribbon and click on the Design tab, on the left-hand side of the Design tab is Themes. If you click on that drop-down, it is currently using this second icon, which is actually called Office 2013 to 2022. That's the theme that's applied right now. That is not the current defaults for Microsoft. If I click the very first icon for Office, that's the current theme. If I change it, it's going to change all of my styles and my text to match. Now, how do I know it did that? Well, if I go back to the Home tab, this Style 1, Heading 1, is now using Aptos Display Heading instead of Calibri. It's using Aptos because all new documents that you create in Word use the Office theme by default, unless your organization has changed it, and the default font is Aptos. So all of the text, like if I go to this paragraph for your favorite store is open, if I click in that paragraph, I can look at my font group on my Home tab, and I can see it's using Aptos Body, which is the normal style. So every time you just start typing text, it uses the normal style and it's Aptos. So just by changing the theme, it automatically has changed the formatting of all of the text within your document, which is pretty cool. But it also changed something else. If I go to the Heart Recycling Center Open New Stores, if I'm on that paragraph and I go back to the font color drop-down arrow, I have a set of different color palettes. It's still using the same square, but it's actually a different shade of blue. You might not have noticed, but it is. Every time you switch to a different theme, the colors all change, and so do the fonts. Let me show you. So now that you've seen these are the default colors, let me go back to the Design tab, go to Themes. These are all the built-in themes. If I choose Slice as an example, it just changed all of the fonts and colors within my document. If I go back to the Home tab, that Heading 1 is now using Century Gothic as the default font. And if I go to the font colors, all of those colors have changed to match that theme. So we can quickly and easily change the formatting of a document by simply changing the theme. It changes the styles to match the theme, and it changes all of the colors being used, whether it's a paragraph format color, it's a table, it's a chart you're inserting, or a graphical object you're inserting. all of the colors will change to match the theme set of colors. Pretty cool that it does that. But I'm going to actually switch back to the default theme, back to the Design tab, back to Themes again. I'm going to click Office. So I'm back to the default formatting. Because just so you know, you also can change the styles that are actively being used right now. By going to the Design tab, there is this group here called Document Formatting. If you've ever wondered what that was and you've never used it before, when you look at the icons going across, you can get a glimpse as to what the formatting would be based on normal and headings coming from the styles. Like as an example, if I go to this one, I'm just hesitating my mouse on it right now. It's called Shaded. And you could see the preview of my document when I hesitate on it. It changes all the headings to have a paragraph formatting, and the headings are all uppercase. You don't have to do all that. Let the computer do the work for you. As you hesitate on each one of these different document formattings, you can get a preview of what they would look like if you decide you would like to use them. Look at all these different options you have. Each one of them has a name, the screen tip. As you hesitate on it, you'll see a screen tip. That screen tip will tell you the name of it. So you could even design your own. We won't go quite that far today. We're going beyond the basics, but we're not doing advanced features like that with creating new styles and different things like that, new themes. But just so you know, you can. It's pretty cool. I really like that. So anyway, just wanted to give you some shortcuts to formatting and taking advantage of that navigation pane that you have. Now, another thing within Microsoft Word is sometimes you're going to be looking at your document and it looks like there's a bunch of extra space in between things, but if you try and click there, it doesn't really take you there. Like in between where I have this text, we are hiring, and these bulleted items for department managers. When I click on each one, it looks like there's space in between, but there isn't. One of the things that you can actually do to help you know what's going on, one thing is on the Home tab of the ribbon. If you go to the paragraph group, on the top right corner of that group, it looks like a shorthand paragraph marker. If anybody is old like I am and knows shorthand, I didn't do shorthand, but I know about it. But if I click this show hide, what that's actually going to show you is characters behind the screen, behind the scene, I should say. And basically what that means is every time a hard return was pressed, it shows you the character for that hard return. It shows you any tab stops, which are the arrows, and then anything that is a space is a dot. It's a superscript dot. In between, you could see in between words. So this is a way to see what can be going on so that you can see, was there supposed to be a space there? No, there was a hard return after we are hiring, but then it's a bulleted list. So I can see that. So as you kind of scroll through your document, these are non-printing characters that you can use to help kind of troubleshoot what's going on. Like, let's say that I scroll down and I really want this rental department opens to start on its own page. I want this to start on its own page. Right now, it's a continuation of the information above it. I'm going to click my cursor to go in front of the word rental in that paragraph, and I'm going to insert a new page break. I'm going to do a new page break. We could go, lots of ways to do the same things. I could go to the Layout tab of the ribbon. In the Page Setup group, I could go to Breaks and do Page. But I don't usually do that. I usually do Control Enter. Control Enter is the keyboard shortcut to put a page break. So what that does is it leaves the rest of the information on the previous page, starts rental department, opens on the next page. you can see because we have that show hide turned on, it automatically is showing where that page break is. If I go back to the home page or the home tab of the ribbon, and I go to that paragraph group and click that icon again for show hide, it takes that off. And you may not know that there's actually a page break there. It looks like a bunch of enters. Somebody could have done enter, enter, enter to move that text down, but you don't want to do that. You don't want to press enter multiple times to move that text down. You want to manually insert a page break, like I did with that control enter. Otherwise, it's going to keep moving things down with a hard return. So if I were to go up to this free balloons and popcorn and I want to add more text and I put in a period and press enter, if I had a bunch of hard returns instead of that hard-coded manual page break, it would move that rental department opens down as well. So that messes up your document. You want to put in the manual page breaks instead. So just so you're aware of the fact that you can do that. But sometimes when you format your data, like using these headings or using other types of formatting, you may want to repeat that formatting. In your handout on the top of page 3, it talks about using what is called the format painter. If you select text and apply different formatting to that text, you have the ability of copying the formatting and not just the text. If you select text, either from your mini toolbar that shows up or by going to the Home tab of the ribbon on the left-hand side in the clipboard group, click that paintbrush icon. That is called the Format Painter. It will only copy the formatting that was on the text you selected. Then you can move your mouse to wherever it is that you want to apply that formatting. So if I scroll down and say that I want to apply it to this paragraph called "Some of the seminars we have planned are," it will automatically paste the formatting on the text. So if you haven't used that, that's a great way also to repeat formatting throughout your document. Okay, styles are different. Styles you could use right from the styles menu, but this wasn't a style. I just had some formatting that I wanted to reuse throughout the document. Just so you know, you can do that. Now, when you look at this paragraph that I just applied that formatting to, some of the seminars we have planned are, there is a big space in between the bulleted list and then even after the bulleted list. There's a space before that mascot family growing too. There is a default setting for that bulleted list for leaving a space above and leaving a space below. How do we know that? That's actually called paragraph formatting. And if I select this paragraph, some of the seminars we have planned are, notice it has that gray shaded part on the bottom of that paragraph. That's letting you know that there is spacing after that paragraph. How can you adjust it or see what's being used? Go to the Home tab of the ribbon in the paragraph group. One way is to click on this icon called line and paragraph spacing. This is where you will find your line spacing, and you can get a live preview as you hesitate. But also notice that at the bottom, it says add space before the paragraph and remove space after. If I hesitate on that remove space after, you're getting a live preview to see that it would remove that extra space after that paragraph. The bulleted list would come right after it. So if that's what you want it to do, click remove space after. There's no space in between that paragraph and that bulleted list. Now, what about this mascot family growing too? If I select that paragraph, there's actually not any paragraph spacing before or after. There's no extra space there, or is there? Or do you want some? You could always go to that same icon, line and paragraph spacing from the home tab of the ribbon, and notice it does say remove space before paragraph. And it has add space after. So if you want to add a space after the paragraph, you can, or if you want to remove the spacing that's before. But what kind of spacing is even before this? And do I want to change it? You can click Line Spacing Options from this drop-down. Line spacing options will take you into the paragraph dialog box, and down towards the middle of the window, it only has a 2-point space, which is similar to the font size of 2, just so you know. But if you look at this spacing, it says before 2 points. If I do the up arrow and I say 12 points, or even go higher, 18 or 24 points, let me leave it at 24 points and click OK. You're going to see there's a really big spacing before that paragraph. So that's how those can work. We want to have spacing to, instead of pressing enter all the time, and we want that spacing to be pretty consistent to make sure that things are separated enough that we can see the data better. So by default, your data does have paragraph spacing. Let me explain. When you look at this paragraph, you can always find our mascot, and then the next paragraph is the happy family will still reside, and then the next one is stay tuned for updates. There's not extra hard returns there. There is paragraph spacing instead. If I select any of these paragraphs, you can see there's this gray shaded area at the end of the paragraph, or this one, which, by the way, are you noticing how I'm selecting those paragraphs? There's a lot of shortcuts to do that. I'm just putting my mouse over in the left margin where I'm getting this arrow pointer, and I'm just double clicking, and it automatically selects that entire paragraph. Clicking once will just select the line you were pointing at. Triple clicking will select your entire document. Just so you know, you could do that. Now, each one of these has paragraph spacing because that's what it does by default with the normal style. The normal style, when you start a brand new document, automatically puts in spacing. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to copy these 3 paragraphs. I'm going to do a brand new document here in Word, and I'm just going to right click, and I'm going to say keep text only. I don't want any extra formatting coming in. What it is using by default is this normal style. If you look at the font group, the normal style is Aptos Body size 12. And what exactly is the paragraph and the line spacing for this? If I go to that paragraph group, click line and paragraph spacing, I'm going to go into line spacing options. You can see down in the spacing group, it has spacing after is 8 points by default. That's what it does automatically. And on the right-hand side, it says line spacing. The line spacing is actually 1.16 by default. So I'm going to click cancel, because if I'm in a paragraph, you can see there's a little bit of gap in between each line. Let me kind of zoom into this a little bit better here so you could see that. Notice how there's space in between each of these lines of the paragraph. That's that 1.16 line spacing. But if I'm clicked on any text in this paragraph and I go to the paragraph group, click on that icon for line and paragraph spacing, if I hesitate on 2, it's going to do double line spacing for that paragraph. Or if I go to 3, it's going to triple space that paragraph. But by default, it's actually doing 1.16, not 1.15 for whatever reason. It's doing 1.16. But just so you know, that's what it does by default. So we don't have to worry about doing that ourselves manually. Back in the old versions of word processing programs, it was single spaced. It was all single spaced. There was no spacing before or after anything. Pretty cool that we have that. So we don't have to work so hard on managing how our data looks in our documents. Okay. Paragraph spacing, by the way, is on page 4 and 5 of your handout, where also on page 5, it's talking about indenting. On your ruler, by the way, like when I look at this bulleted list, look at the space in between the bullet and the text. I'm going to select this bulleted list, and I want the spacing to be closer together. I like the bullet where it is, but I want the text to be moved over to the left closer to the bullet. If I look at my ruler at the top, which by the way, if your ruler is not visible right now, you can turn them on and turn them off by going to the View tab of the ribbon. In the Show group is the ruler option right above the navigation pane, just so you're aware of that. But when you look at that ruler, here is it's a triangle. That is actually called the first line indent. There's 3 different indentation markings. The second one is going to be this triangle pointing up. That was a triangle pointing down. That one is the triangle pointing up is actually called the hanging indent. And that is helping us to manage where things are indenting too. But then there's also the bottom, it's a little rectangle. That's actually your left indent. So if I want to move the spacing where this text is at, I can actually move this hanging indent to the right. I'm sorry, to the left. So as I drag it to the left across the ruler, or drag it to the right, see how I'm changing the space? I can drag that hanging indent to the left to have less space in between the bullet and the paragraphs themselves. So you can use the ruler to control where things line up. But if I just go to this paragraph called "You Can Always Find Our Mascot Bob," if I just click in front of that paragraph, press your tab key, that's going to indent that first paragraph to the ½ mark on the ruler. If you look at the ruler again at the top, that triangle pointing down, which is our first line indent, is at the ½ mark on the ruler. Just by pressing tab, it does that. So you could see that it's indented, just the first line of the paragraph. What if you press your tab key again? It's actually going to indent the rest of the paragraph to the ½ mark and move the first line indent to the right, if you want it to. But my cursor is still blinking in the first line of the paragraph, where it's now at the 1-inch mark in the ruler. I'm going to press my backspace key, and it's going to back the paragraph up to be all lined up at that ½ mark on the ruler. If I press my backspace key again, it moves the entire paragraph back to the left-hand side, all depending on how you want things to look. Just so you know, we have lots of ways to manage the way that the paragraphs all look. They can have first line indents, hanging indents. We can indent an entire paragraph to a specific marker, whatever it is that you need, what works best for you, just so you know you could do that. And any text can be turned into a bulleted list. It doesn't have to be a short line of text, which technically is a paragraph because there's a hard return after each of these bulleted items. What if I want these 3 paragraphs to be a bulleted list? I could select those paragraphs and go to the Home tab of the ribbon In the paragraph group, you have your bullet icon, or if you want them to be numbered, because you want people to follow steps 1, 2, 3 kind of a thing. If you just click the bullet icon, it applies the standard bullet. This is the default bullet. But if you want a different bullet, click the drop down arrow next to the icon from the ribbon, and it will give you the bullet library and the document bullets. So if you want to use a different type of bullet, you can. Just click on the one that you want to apply, and it will automatically apply it to the paragraphs you selected. If you change your mind and you don't want this to be bulleted items, go back and click the icon for bullets again, and it will just remove them. What if you decide you want them to be numbered? You could always go to the paragraph group on the ribbon, click the icon for numbering, and it will change it to be 1 period, 2 period, 3 period. But what if you want Roman numerals, or you want it to be ABC? You could click the down arrow next to the number icon from the ribbon, and you can choose all of these built-in numbering options. Roman numerals, capital letters, lowercase letters, whatever it is that you want to apply, you just click what you want, and it automatically will change it. But what if you want to add something to a bulleted list or a numbered list? If I go at the end of this paragraph behind puppies and press my Enter key, it's going to automatically give me a B and move B down to be C, C down to be D. And I could say, these puppies are adorable, whatever. So just so you could see, you can always continue the bulleted list or a numbered list. Okay. I could go to the very last one, click behind the last paragraph in this alphabetized list, press enter, and it will give me an E, just so you're aware. Now, if I don't want that paragraph to actually be a letter E, I want it to be a normal paragraph, I can go back to the ribbon, click the icon again for numbers, and it will put my cursor back over to the left margin where it normally should be. Just so you know you have those capabilities. But also something else built into Microsoft Word that I like to use on a pretty regular basis is columns. If you want to take a paragraph or multiple paragraphs and turn them into columns, you can do that by selecting the paragraphs or paragraph, whatever you have, then go up to the Layout tab, the Layout tab of the ribbon. On the left-hand side, in the Page Setup group, you can click Columns. We have built-in options for 1, 2, 3, left, right. Left means it's going to do a narrower column on the left, a wider column on the right. The opposite is doing right, where you get a wider column on the left and more narrow column on the right. I'm going to click right. So based on this text, I don't have too much text that I selected, but it automatically did turn it into 2 columns. But it's really difficult to kind of see that because I didn't have a lot of text. But let me show you a couple of other things. Let me go back to columns again, and I'm going to say 2. If I do 2, it has both of these columns, but because there isn't any other data, it's not really shrinking them up. But let me cheat here for a second. I'm going to just copy some text and paste it below this column. Look what happened. It automatically assumed I wanted it to continue with that column, and it puts it in the right column for me. Well, what if I don't want that? What if I want this glass and screen repair to not be a part of that? I actually want Tom was attending college to be a second column. I'm going to undo what I just did first. I'm going to click my cursor in front of Tom will be attending college in the fall. I want that to be the column on the right-hand side next to that Employee of the Month, we caught up with our Employee of the Month. What you can do is go to the Layout tab, click on Breaks, and you can click Column. Click Column. That will actually give you a column break. So now that's the second column. So we don't just have page breaks. We can have column breaks as well within your document to say, I want to take this starting of this text and move it to the next column. So we have a lot of different break options available within your document. But we're going to move on because I have a few other things that I want to quickly get to before our class is going to end on us shortly. On page 9 of your handout talks about creating a table of contents. If you have a document that you're going to share with your coworkers, with a specific department, with your vendors, whoever, your customers, and you want to have a title page to the document and a table of contents, we have built-in capabilities to do that. Right now I happen to be on page 5. I don't have to move to the top of the document to add a cover page. I'm going to go to the Insert tab of the ribbon, and on the left-hand side of the ribbon, we have built-in cover page options that it's automatically going to add the cover page to be the first page of the document. I'm going to click the drop-down for cover pages. Here's your default document layouts for cover pages. I'm going to choose this one and just click on it, and it's going to jump me to the top of the document, showing me that cover page that it just inserted. Now I'm going to zoom out so you can see the whole page. So here's the cover page that it just added. It includes these graphical objects at the top. It's a placeholder for the document title, the subtitle. It's got this placeholder for an abstract. It knows I'm the author of the document, so it automatically inserted that. I could have it automatically put in my email address and other details like that as well. So if I click where it says document title, by the way, I could type in the name of this document. And I'm going to type in Building with Heart. And then where it says document subtitle, I'm going to put in Heart Recycling, Recycling Centers. Oops, didn't spell that right, but let me get that fixed. Just so you know, it's actually adding that information to the properties of the document. So it's tagging it as that. But I also want to add a table of contents to this document. So I'm going to actually go to the top of the document, not the cover page, but the second page. I'm going to click in front of the very top paragraph, which is actually called Heart Recycling Centers. I actually want that to be formatted as a title. I've got this graphic here, but I wanted the Heart Recycling Center's text to be a title. I'm going to go to the Home tab. In the Styles group, we have a format for title. I'm going to click Title, and I'm going to press Enter to move it underneath that graphical object. And what I also want to have happen is I want this graphic to be moved to the right-hand side. If I try and move it right now, it stays to the left. But if I move it over to the right, I can have it be on the right-hand side of this text because it is formatted to wrap with text. This icon that shows up when you click on a graphic, you can have with text wrapping, and I can move it wherever I want it to go, just so you could see. But I want to insert a table of contents to go before this page. Now, I have some extra hard returns at the top of this that I'm going to get rid of first. I want to be right at the top of this page. I'm going to insert a table of contents by going to the References tab of the ribbon. I'm going to go to the left-hand side, click on the icon for Table of Contents. We have 3 built-in options you can choose from, or you can manually create your own. I'm going to choose Automatic Table 2. When I click this, what it's going to do is look throughout my document for the styles the formatting that I used, style heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3, and create the table of contents based on those styles. I'm going to click this automatic table 2. I now have a table of contents. But I want that Hearts Recycling Center's title to go on the next page. I don't want it on the same page as the table of contents. How I'm going to do that is I want it to be its own section because I want to organize my document into different sections so I can have different page numbering for the actual document itself. So what I'm going to do is go to the Layout tab of the ribbon. I'm going to click Breaks on the left-hand side, and I'm going to say Odd Page. Now, the reason I'm choosing Odd Page is because what if we print this? I want my text to start, if you think of it as a book, I want my text to start on the odd page of my double-sided printing. Just so you know, you could do that. I'm going to click Odd Page. This Recycling Centers now starts on the next page, and it automatically is page 3. Now, if anything happens up in this table of contents and it grows, it's always going to start on an odd page number. So as we add information to this document, we can always use our styles in different places. Like if I go back to this document and I make changes to where things are going to be, like let's say that I want these store locations and hours to be a style. I'm going to go back and say I want that to be a style heading 1, and I want to move it to the start of the next page. That's not in the table of contents. I need to go back to the table of contents and update it. And to do that, if you go to this table of contents and just click on the title where it says table of contents at the beginning of it, you can see underneath it, it has all of the styles heading 1, indented is heading 2, indented from that is the heading 3 styles. It has the leader tab stop, the ... dots, going over to the page number. But I need to update it. So from this little menu that pops up at the top, I'm going to actually click Update Table. Then I'm going to say Update Entire Table because in case I made other changes to it, I'm going to click OK. And now it has updated this table of contents to match where all the data is on each one of the pages below. Any new styles that were added automatically will update it as well. So now we have this title page, we have this table of contents, and then we have the contents of our document, which gave us 7 different pages. Now, if you recall, from the Home tab of the ribbon in the paragraph group, I'm going to click on that Show Hide again. You can see the section break odd page underneath the table of contents. So all those paragraph markers, here's that page break that I did earlier, all those manual things, here's that column break. It also added a section break continuous for those columns. You can see all of those by turning on that Show Hide. So it can become very helpful, that Show Hide, because you can see things that are going on in the background that you don't see otherwise. I'm going to turn it back off again by clicking the Show Hide icon again, just so you could see Microsoft Word is more than just coming in and typing. Now, I want to add a header to be in the document, but I don't need it in the title or the table of contents. I'm going to come to page 3, this Heart Recycling Centers, and I'm going to double click in the header area at the top of that page. When I double click in this free area at the top of that page, it takes me into first page header section 2, and it says same as previous. If I look at the ribbon, I have a header and footer tab that has been added. I need to go to this navigation group and click link to previous to turn it off because I don't want the first section of the document, which is the cover page and the table of contents, to have the same header. So I'm going to click link to previous so I no longer have that connected. And I'm going to go to the ribbon again, in this options group, I don't want the first page of this section to have a different first page because it's not a chapter page or anything like that. So I'm going to uncheck different first page. Now I'm going to add in what I want to appear in the header, and maybe I want it to say recycling centers, oops, and I want that to be a larger font size. I want it to be centered, and I want to insert a line, which you'll find that in my header of the documents you are using for your handouts today, just so you could see we could do that. And then I also want to add a footer. I can go to the header and footer tab on the ribbon, and on the left-hand side, I can actually go over to the footer drop-down, and I can choose from these pre-formatted footer options. So I'm going to choose this one called branded. It automatically adds it to the section 2, but it says same as previous. I don't want it to be linked to previous, so I'm going to uncheck that link to previous so I don't have that happening in those other sections. And by the way, if I go back to section 1, where I have my table of contents page, I'm just going to select that number 1 and delete that out. I don't need a page number for my table of contents, but I can see starting on page 3, I have page 1, page 2, page 3, etc. Notice on the ribbon for that header and footer tab on the right-hand side, there's a close header and footer. Once you close that, you're back into your normal document again. And you can see that every page except for the first 2 pages all have the same header, and they all have footers starting with page 1 on page 3 of the document. So if I click on this page, I can see at the bottom left it says page 3 of 7, but it says page 1. Okay, just so you know, because the first 2 pages don't count on the page numbering. These are things just to kind of show you that Microsoft Word is very capable of doing these actions, and they're not that difficult to do. I do have some information on starting on page 10 and 11, talking about the odd versus even pages, talking about page breaks, talking about the section breaks. There's some pretty great features we have. But there's one more that I want to mention before we quickly leave our session today. And I'm going to actually scroll to this part of the document. I'm just going to go to a free section of this document. If you have information that you want to repeat on multiple documents, you can actually save text and or a graphic to repeat on different documents. By going to the Insert tab of the ribbon, let me go to my Insert tab here. I already have a couple of things saved. In your handouts, I actually have a page that gives a copyright information. If I go to my quick parts, here it is. Here's my 2026 VTC. If I click on this icon, it automatically inserts that information. How did I save that so that I can use it in any document and have it available on that drop-down? Well, if you have like text and graphics, select all of it. Select whatever it is that you want to save as a quick part, which is on page 13 of your handout, by the way. If I go to the Insert tab, go back to Quick Parts, I can actually choose at the bottom of this list, Save Selection to Quick Part Gallery. So whatever you have selected with the formatting, it will save it to the Quick Parts Gallery. You can give it a name. I'm naming it Building with Heart. I'm going to click OK. Then I'm actually going to close that file. I want to close Microsoft Word. As a matter of fact, I'm going to close my other Microsoft Word here too. I'm going to and by the way, let me show you this. When I went to close Word, I got this message. You have modified styles, building blocks such as cover pages, etc. Do you want to save it? If I want to save that quick part I just created, I need to click Save. Now, if I go back into Microsoft Word, and I create a new document or open up an existing document and I want to use what I just saved, I can go to the Insert tab, go to Quick Parts. Here's that one called Building with Heart. I click on it, it automatically inserts whatever I had saved. I love being able to repeat information from one document to another. I think that is a great shortcut. So if you have never used that feature before, the information is going to be available within your handout so that you can see how to use that.